Let's bring in Dr. Shelby Harris, the Clinical Associate Director of Neurology and Psychiatry at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Doctor, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having
Of
me.
course. So there's a new health advisory. It says moving into or out of daylight saving time can take, 5 to 7 days to adjust. Why does it take so long?
Well, our bodies have this internal clock, this circadian rhythm that's built in, and that is very sensitive to slow changes in light and dark over time. And that quick change, even if it's an hour, it throws everything off when it comes to any physiologic changes, blood pressure, core temperature, metabolism, all these things that clock sets because of that light exposure. It just gets thrown into complete whack. And then we also lose that hour of sleep, which isn't good either.
No, I'm going to get up at 2 a.m., which means I have to set my alarm at 1 a.m. today. So it's going to be one of those things. So how do we get our internal clocks back on track, Doc?
So there's a few things. I mean, the first thing that we would love in sleep medicine is just get rid of the change altogether and stay in standard time because that's what we need. But be mindful of light exposure in the morning. That's going to change a bit now. Also, you're going to want caffeine. Just don't use too much because then it can make it harder at night to sleep. Little nap if you need to, 20, 30 minutes can be totally fine. Sleep hygiene or sleep deprivation is actually very dehydrating. So drink some water, have some gentle movement. Don't expect too much of yourself the next day. And then the thing I love to do is change all the clocks earlier in the day, like today. So you're starting to get a little bit used to that time change even in advance.
What about those who may not be able to take a nap today? What about going to bed a little earlier than usual?
You can totally do that. If you want to do it tonight, maybe kind of find a happy medium of like 20, 30 minutes or like earlier, because then you'll spring ahead. You can totally do that. If you in the future want to do it, you can do it a few days in advance to have an even easier change. But tonight, maybe a half hour would be good.
And to help with the transition, Doc, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine is saying people should wake up tomorrow at their normal time, go to bed early, get that morning sunlight if they can. How big of a difference can these little steps make for people adjusting to this time change?
I think it's really important. Light exposure, people minimize how important it is. And if you can really get that light exposure in the morning, that can help. And keeping a consistent bedtime, wake time helps keep your body clock in check. It will also help for the day to really be able to go to bed when you need to and keep that clock a little bit better on track. So as much consistency, even with that hour off and light exposure, and also because it's going to start to get lighter and more at night, darkness before bed is going to be really important as well.
I am looking forward to more light. Let's talk about those parents out there. You advise them to put their kids to bed slightly early, to not overschedule them for tomorrow. How does the adjustment vary for adults and, of course, for children?
So adults tend to feel it a little bit more because there's the hour lost in the fall. That's where the parents really struggle because the kids wake up a lot earlier, but you're going to have kids that are a bit sleep deprived possibly. So don't overschedule them. That's a big thing. If you normally have lots of activities on a Sunday, really try to, minimize that as much as possible. A little earlier tonight for that bedtime and just give it a day or two and they should be able to adjust. It just takes a little bit of time.
What advice do you have for parents whose children simply are not accepting the new timing?
Give it a little bit of time. Like I said, the spring is a little bit easier for parents. In the fall, it's a lot harder because they wake up earlier. But just be gentle with all the things that we want to schedule our kids for over the next few days. And then one other thing, the light is going to be up more at night. So make sure your kids' room have really good light blocking shades as we get into the summertime as well.
Good advice. There's a recent study. It found daylight saving time has minimal impact on our heart health, which is good news. But it saw a slight increase in cardiovascular events like heart attack, even stroke. What's the medical reasoning behind that, Doc? And what other adverse side effects are out there because of daylight saving?
Yeah, so our bodies are so set to this time clock that essentially what you're doing is you're having more instability because you've lost that hour and you're trying to wake up during a time when your blood pressure is not in the normal range that it might be. There's changes during that hour or two before you would normally wake up. And then if you add on top of that, changing in your core body temperature because you're waking up a bit earlier, and then that hour lost of sleep, that's all stuff that can actually increase the risk of sleepiness, car accidents, strokes, all of that, unfortunately.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.